Good morning. Welcome to Eat, Breathe, and Pray. It is Thursday, April 24th, and the time is 6:04 a.m. That's Eastern Daylight Time here in the United States. And we are here for our Through the Bible in 1 Year reading. As I said, it's day 114, and our reading for today comes from 2 Samuel chapters 1 through 4. So if you want to grab a Bible and cough of cuppy, a cup of coffee perhaps, go ahead and do that. Um, but before we begin the reading, let's just come before Him in prayer. Father, I just thank you for this day. I thank you for the joy and the privilege of starting our day with you and starting our day in you. And if it is not morning where you are, you can just insert walking through my day or going through my day. This is not limited to a particular time. It's a life, it's a lifestyle, it's a choice. And so we step into that place. We recognize our need for you in this moment. Wherever we are, whatever time it may be, you alone are worthy. You alone are faithful. You alone are the lover of our soul. You alone are the author and the perfecter of our faith. And so we come to you. We surrender our hopes. And we surrender our dreams, but we do it not from a sense of loss, because you have something that is so much greater. Your plans and your purposes, who you created us to be, and to speak and to do and to live, is so much better than anything that we could come up with on our own. It just is. And so when we say that we surrender ourselves and we surrender our flesh, we're actually trading up to an infinite and loving and omniscient and all-powerful God who spoke everything into existence, including us, and yet loves us with a passion and a zeal and a fervor and a steadiness and a consistency and a thoroughness and an intimacy that just blows our minds. He is gentle because if he revealed fully the depths of his love for us in a moment, it would probably cause us to spontaneously self combust. And so he is gentle. He leads us as the good shepherd, and he leads us by the path that we have not known. But that doesn't mean that we have to fear the journey. I just, it's almost like a teaching prayer this morning, but sometimes we just need to remind ourselves of these truths. We need to remind ourselves of his heart for us. It's so easy to lose sight of that in the mundane and in the struggle and in the trials and in the relationships, in what we allow in that is less than, what we allow in that is drudgery. And I'm not talking about drudgery in him. I'm just saying that when we lean into him, all drudgery evaporates. There is a joy, there is a purpose, there is a destiny, there is a confidence. And so we lean into that. We lean in to you. Even now, at this time and in this place, let faith rise up. Let remembrance and recollection and understanding rise up, that we would know him and that we would allow ourselves to be known by him, even though he knows it all. When we open ourselves to him, it unlocks something in us and it allows Holy Spirit to begin to change us. And sometimes it's imperceptible at first, but when we keep coming day by day and moment by moment, the journey begins or the journey continues, and we are able at some point to look back and say, I see what you did, God. I am able to perceive that I am not the man or the woman or the child that I was yesterday or last week or last month or last year or 5 years ago. And that just becomes a building block, a memorial stone for future growth, for future purpose and destiny and identity and all those things that can only truly be found in him. So we seek you, Lord God. We seek you because you are your own reward. But we also want to be able to appropriate by faith and walk in all of the benefits that come with being your son or your daughter. And so that was a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I believe that that was what he would have me say and to pray. And so from that place of your presence and that place of communion with you, and it just that it's as much for me as it is for anyone who might be hearing. This is the journey, but let us hear the word of the Lord from that place. So 2 Samuel chapter 1. Now it happened after the death of Saul that David returned from striking down the Amalekites. Then David remained 2 days in Ziklag. Now it happened that on the third day, behold, a man came out of the camp from Saul, and his clothes were torn, and dust was on his head. And it happened when he came to David that he fell to the ground and prostrated himself. Then David said to him, "From where do you come?" And he said to him, "I have escaped from the camp of Israel." And David said to him, "How did things go? Tell me now." And he said, "The people have fled from the battle, and also many of the people have fallen and are dead. And Saul and Jonathan his son are dead also." So David said to the young man who told him, "How do you know that Saul and his son are dead?" And the young man who told him said, "By chance I happened to be on Mount Gilboa, and behold, Saul was leaning on his spear, and behold, excuse me, and behold, the chariots and the horsemen pursued him closely." Then he turned to look behind him, and he saw me and called to me. And I said, "Here I am." And he said to me, "Who are you?" And I answered him, "I am an Amalekite." Then he said to me, "Please stand beside me and put me to death, for agony has seized me, because my life still, lingers in me." So I stood beside him and put him to death, because I knew that he could not live after he had fallen. And I took the crown which was on his head and the bracelet which was on his arm, and I have brought them here to my Lord. Then David took hold of his clothes and tore them, and so also did all the men who were with him. And they lamented and wept and fasted until evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the people of Yahweh and the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. And David said to the young man who told him, "Where are you from?" And he answered, "I am the son of a sojourner, an Amalekite." Then David said to him, "How is it you were not afraid to send forth your hand to destroy the anointed of Yahweh?" And David called one of the young men and said, "Approach and fall upon him." So he struck him, and he died. And he said to him, "Your blood is on your head, for your mouth has answered against you, saying, I have put the anointed of Yahweh to death." Then Saul chanted with this funeral lament over Saul and Jonathan his son, and he told them to teach the sons of Judah the song of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jashar. Your beauty, O Israel, is slain on your high places. How have the mighty fallen? Tell it not in Gath. Proclaim it not in the streets of Ashkelon. Let the daughters of the Philistines be glad. Let the daughters of the uncircumcised exult. O mountains of Gilboa, let not dew or rain, be on you, nor fields of offerings. For there the shield of the mighty was defiled, the shield of Saul, not anointed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, The bow of Jonathan did not turn back, and the sword of Saul did not return empty. Saul and Jonathan, beloved and pleasant in their life, and in their death they were not separated. They were swifter than eagles, they were mightier than lions. O daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you luxuriously in scarlet, who put ornaments of gold on your clothing. How have the mighty fallen in the midst of the battle? Jonathan is slain on your high places. I am distressed for you, my brother Jonathan. You have been very pleasant to me. Your love to me was more wonderful than the love of women. How have the mighty fallen, and the weapons of war perished? 2 Samuel chapter 2. Now it happened afterwards that David asked of Yahweh, saying, Shall I go up to one of the cities of Judah? And Yahweh said to him, Go up. So David said, Where shall I go up? And he said, To Hebron. So David went up there, and his two wives also, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. And David brought up his men who were with him, each with his household, and they lived in the cities of Hebron. Then the men of Judah came and there anointed David king over the house of Judah. And they told David, saying, It was the men of Jabesh Gilead who buried Saul. And David sent messengers to the men of Jabesh Gilead, and said to them, May you be blessed of Yahweh, because you have shown this loving kindness with your Lord, with Saul, and have buried him. So now may Yahweh show loving kindness and truth to you, and I also will show this goodness to you, because you have done this thing. So now let your hands be strong and be valiant, for Saul your Lord is dead, and also the house of Judah has anointed me king over them. Now Abner the son of Ner, commander of Saul's army, had taken Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim. And he made him king over Gilead, over the Asherites, over Jezreel, over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, even over all Israel. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he became king over Israel, and he was king for 2 years. The house of Judah, however, followed David. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. Now Abner the son of Ner went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon with the servants of Ishbosheth the son of Saul. And Joab the son of Zeruiah and the servants of David went out and met them by the pool of Gibeon. The pool of Gibeon, and they sat down, one on one side of the pool, and the other on the other side of the pool. Then Abner said to Joab, Now let the young men arise and hold a contest before us. And Joab said, Let them arise. So they arose and went over by count. 12 for Benjamin and Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. And each one of them seized his opponent by the head and thrust his sword in his opponent's side. So they fell down together. Therefore that place was called Helkath Hazurim, which is in Gibeon. In that day the battle was very severe, and Abner and the men of Israel were defeated before the servants of David. Now the 3 sons of Zeruiah were there, Joab, and Abishai, and Asahel. And Asahel was as swift footed as one of the gazelles which is in the field. And Asahel pursued Abner, and did not turn to the right or to the left from following Abner. Then Abner turned to look behind him and said, Is that you, Asahel? And he answered, It is I. So Abner said to him, Turn to your right or to your left, and seize one of the young men for yourself, and take for yourself this spoil. But Asahel was not willing to turn aside from following him. And Abner repeated again to Asahel, Turn aside from following me. Why should I strike you to the ground? How then could I lift up my face to your brother Joab? However, he refused to turn aside. Therefore Abner struck him in the belly with the butt end of the spear, so that the spear came out at his back. And he fell there and died on the spot. And it happened that all who came to the place where Asahel had fallen and died stood still. But Joab and Abishai pursued Abner. Now the sun was going down, and they came to the hill of Ammah, which is in front of Giah by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. And the sons of Benjamin gathered together behind Abner and became one band, and they stood on the top of a certain hill. Then Abner called to Joab and said, Shall the sword devour forever? Do you not know that it will be bitter in the end? How long will you refrain from telling the people to turn back from following their brothers? As Joab said, and Joab said, As God lives, if you had not spoken, surely then the people would have only gone away in the morning, each from following his brother. So Joab blew the trumpet, and all the people stood still and pursued Israel no longer, nor did they continue to fight any more. But Abner and his men then went through the Arabah all that night. So they crossed the Jordan, walked all morning, and came to Mahanaim. Now Joab returned from following Abner, and he had gathered all the people together, and 19 of David's servants, besides Asahel, were missing. But the servants of David had struck down many of Benjamin and Abner's men, so that 360 men died. And they took up Asahel and buried him in his father's tomb, which was in Bethlehem. Then Joab and his men went all night until the day dawned at Hebron. 2 Samuel chapter 3. Now the war between the house of Saul and the house of David was long, and David grew steadily stronger, but the house of Saul grew weaker continually. And sons were born to David at Hebron. The first was Amnon by Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and his second Chileab by Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite, and the third Absalom the son of Maacah the daughter of Talmai king of Geshur, and the fourth Adonijah the son of Haggith, and the fifth Shephatiah the son of Abital, and the sixth Ithream by David's wife Eglah. These were born to David at Hebron. Now it happened while there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David, that Abner was making himself strong in the house of Saul. Now Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, and Ishbosheth said to Abner, Why have you gone in to my father's concubine? Then Abner was very angry over the words of Ishbosheth and said, Am I a dog's head that belongs to Judah? Today I show loving kindness to the house of Saul your father, to his brothers and to his friends, and have not delivered you into the hands of David. And yet today you charge me with a guilt concerning the woman. May God do so to Abner, and more also, if, as Yahweh has sworn to David, I do not do this for him, to transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and to establish the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan even to Beersheba. And he could no longer respond a word to Abner, because he was afraid of him. Then Abner sent messengers to David in his place, saying, Whose is the land? Cut your covenant with me, and behold, my hand shall be with you, to turn all Israel over to you. And he said, Good, I will cut a covenant with you, but I ask one thing of you, namely, you shall not see my face unless you first bring Michal, Saul's daughter, when you come to see my face. So David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, saying, Give me my wife Michal, to whom I was betrothed for 100 foreskins of the Philistines. And Ishbosheth sent and took her from her husband, from Paltiel the son of Laish. But her husband went with her, weeping as he went, and followed her as far as Bahurim. Then Abner said to him, Go, return. So he returned. Now Abner had consultation with the elders of Israel, saying, In times past you were seeking for David to be king over you. So now do it. For Yahweh has spoken of David, saying, By the hand of my servant David I will save my people Israel from the hand of the Philistines and from the hand of all their enemies. Abner also spoke in the hearing of Benjamin, and in addition, Abner went to speak in the hearing of David in Hebron, all that was good in the sight of Israel, and in the sight of the whole house of Benjamin. Then Abner and 20 men with him came to David at Hebron. And David made a feast for Abner and the men who were with him. And Abner said to David, Let me arise and go and gather all Israel to my lord the king, that they may cut a covenant with you, and that you may be king over all that your soul desires. So David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. And behold, the servants of David and Joab came from a raid, and brought much spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he had gone in peace. Now Joab and all the army that was with him arrived, and they told Joab, saying, Abner the son of Ner came to the king, and he has sent him away, and he is gone in peace. Then Joab came to the king and said, What have you done? Behold, Abner came to you. Why then have you sent him away, and he is gone already? You know Abner the son of Ner, that he came to deceive you, and to know of your going out and your coming in, and to know all that you are doing. Then Joab came out from David and sent messengers after Abner, and they brought him back from the well of Sirah, but David did not know it. So when Abner returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside into the middle of the gate to speak with him privately, and there he struck him in the belly, so that he died on account of the blood of Asahel his brother. Afterward, David heard it, so he said, I and my kingdom are innocent before Yahweh forever of the blood of Abner, the son of Ner. May it whirl on the house of Joab and on all his father's house, and may one who has a discharge, or is a leper, or who takes hold of a spindle, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks bread, not be cut off from the house of Joab. So Joab and Abishai his brother killed Abner, because he had put their brother Asahel to death in the battle at Gibeon. Then David said to Joab and to all the people who were with him, tear your clothes and gird on sackcloth and lament before Abner. And King David walked behind the bier. Then they buried Abner in Hebron, and the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner. And all the people wept. And the king chanted a lament for Abner and said, should Abner die as a wicked fool dies? Your hands were not bound, nor your feet put in fetters. As one falls before the unrighteous, you have fallen. And all the people continued to weep over him. Then all the people came to persuade David to eat bread while it was still day. But David swore an oath, saying, may God do so to me, and more also, if I taste bread or anything else before the sun goes down. Now all the people took note of it, and it was good in their sight, just as everything the king did was good in the sight of all the people. So all the people and all Israel knew that day that it had not been the will of the king to put Abner the son of Ner to death. Then the king said to his servants, do you not know that a prince and a great man has fallen this day in Israel? Thus I am weak today, though anointed king, and these men, the sons of Zeruiah, are too difficult for me. May Yahweh repay the evildoer according to his evil. 2 Samuel chapter 4. Then Ishbosheth, Saul's son, heard that Abner had died in Hebron, and he lost courage, and all Israel was dismayed. Now Saul's son had 2 men who were commanders of bands. The name of the one was Banah, and the name of the other Rechab, sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, of the sons of Benjamin, for Beeroth is also considered part of Benjamin. And the Beerothites fled to Gittim, and have been sojourners there until this day. Now Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son crippled in his feet. He was 5 years old when the report of Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it happened that in her hurry to flee, he fell and became lame, and his name was Mephibosheth. So the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, Rechab and Banah, went forth and came to the house of Ishbosheth in the heat of the day, while he was taking his midday rest. They came to the middle of the house as if to get wheat, and they struck him in the belly, and Rechab and Banah, his brother, escaped. Thus they came into the house as he was lying on his bed in his bedroom, and they struck him and put him to death and beheaded him. And they took his head and went on the way leading to the Arabah all night. Then they brought the head of Ishbosheth to David at Hebron, and said to the king, behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, your enemy, who sought your life. Thus Yahweh has given my lord the king vengeance this day on Saul and on his seed. And David answered Rechab and Banah his brother, sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said to them, as Yahweh lives, who has redeemed my life from all distress, when one told me, saying, behold, Saul is dead, and thought he was bringing good news, I seized him and killed him in Ziklag, which was the reward I gave him for his news. How much more, when wicked men have killed a righteous man in his own house on his bed, Shall I not now require his blood from your hand and purge you from the earth? Then David commanded the young men, and they killed them, and cut off their hands and feet, and hung them up beside the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth and buried it in the grave of Abner in Hebron. And that is our reading for today. That was 2 Samuel chapters 1 through 4. Join us again at 12 noon, that is Eastern Daylight Time, for our midday prayer focus, a time where we come together online and share those things that God has put on our heart to seek his face about and to be about his business concerning for this day. But until then, go in the knowledge and the awareness of the presence of God with you, of his great love for you, and of his Holy Spirit dwelling in you. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for the people of Israel. Pray the promises and the prophecies of Scripture over them. And pray without ceasing for whatever it is that God has called you to, whatever he has given you influence over or authority over. Pray from that place of his presence, that place of stillness and rest, where you can hear his voice and know his heart, so that you know that what you are praying comes straight from the heart of the Father. And be blessed and be a blessing.